Welcome back. As you know, I'm Eli, the computer guy, here for the Daily Blob, where we say, oh no, can you believe it? Trump doesn't like the numbers that are coming back after he's implemented all of these different policies, right? He's doing the trade wars, he's doing export restrictions, he's doing all of these things, and the job numbers that are coming back are just not where he wants them to be. What is he going to do? Is he going to change policy course? Is he going to put the power back into the legislative branch so we can actually have a lot of people coming together to create the best plans for our country? Is that what he's going to do? No, he's gonna fire the person that came up with the numbers that he doesn't like. Yeah, that sounds very 2025. That sounds very 2025. So yeah, we've had job numbers. We have had job numbers that have come back, and surprise to somebody else other than me, the numbers aren't great, right? Which, yeah, that kind of makes sense. One of the things I've been talking about for a while, not since Trump took office, but since he started all of this tariff and all this other horse crappery, is that this is going to affect the economy, right? From the little people to the big companies. These tariffs are a big deal, whether it's a 10% tariff, whether it's a 50% tariff, whether it's a 145% tariff. And not only are the tariffs are the issue, but then there's the confusion and the chaos, right? You don't even know if you place an order from an international company, you don't know what you're going to be charged by the time you actually receive that product. We talked about this with Louis Rossmann, right? So for SiliconDojo.com, we do fireside chats. We had Louis Rossmann on a couple of weeks ago. One of his kind of sidelines is selling, I think it's like hot air stations. So if you don't know Louis Rossmann, basically he does a component level Mac repair, so electronics repair, soldering motherboards, that type of deal. So for his viewers and other people that want to create businesses, he found these amazing hot air stations, soldering stations, whatever, that he was purchasing from China. And he was purchasing them for like $200 a piece, and then he was selling them for like $400 or $500, something along those lines. One of the things he said is that the American competitor to that particular product, they started at something like $1,600 and literally were not as good. They didn't come with the same things and literally was not as good a product, right? So he would buy these air stations, these soldering stations, and he would buy them at like 20 to 25,000 of them dollars worth at a time, right? So he put in his order for $25,000 of them. They get shipped. He put them in his little warehouse. He would ship them out. He would sell them, and that was a nice little sideline for making some extra profit, making some extra revenue for his company. And one of the things that he said with all the disaster of the Trump policies is that he just stopped buying these air stations, right? Like if he places an order and he doesn't know whether by the time he receives that order, he's going to be charged $25,000 or $50,000 or damn near $95,000, right? As a business person, he cannot take that risk. And that's one of the things that I've been talking about a lot is you do not need a good tax regime. You do not necessarily even need a good regulatory regime. You need a stable regime. And I've said this for a decade at this point, right? Because with stability, even with a bad tax system, even with a bad regulatory environment, you can sit down and you can do the numbers. Right? At a 95% tax rate, you only get to take 5% of the profit home, right? If you can sell enough of a product, or you can sell it for make it expensive enough, you can actually make enough money to pay a mortgage and actually get a boat or yacht or something like that, right? You got to make the numbers work. But if 1 minute your tax rate is 10%, then your next rate, the minute your tax rate is 80%, and the next minute your tax rate is 40%. The problem is 10% might be better than 95%, but if you're getting these massive fluctuations, you just don't know what the hell to do. And that's one of the big issues we're having right now with all of the administrations. Again, going back to Biden, one of the things I complained about with Biden is they were futzing with the numbers, right? I've talked about this, where we've been in an economic kerfuffle since like 2008, 2009, right? So we had the Great Recession. The Great Recession was 2009. So obviously we're not in the Great Recession anymore because recession is lowering the GDP for 2 quarters, whatever else. Obviously that stopped 16, 17 years ago. But the problem is we've just had this idiocy ever since then, right? The government bailed out the Detroit automakers, and they're doing whatever they're doing, and then they dropped interest rates down to 1%. So basically, rich people were able to borrow money low and then try to invest it in places where they're going to get a better spread. And like basically, we've just been in this idiocy for 16, 17 years. And then you had Biden, and Biden was trying to prove what a great president he was. And I'm sitting there saying everything's going to hell, right? Housing prices are going through the roof, medical costs are going through the roof, right? We have all these issues, but we're told by the Biden administration that the economy is better than ever. And you look at it, and it's weird, right? Because you look at the numbers, and that's the problem with numbers. The problem with numbers, he comes out, right, and the unemployment rate under Biden, the unemployment rate is amazing. It's like the lowest the unemployment rate has been in God knows how long. And I sit there, and I'm like, well, that's weird. Like, that just doesn't feel right. It just doesn't. Are we in a depression? No, we're obviously not in a depression. Are we in a recession? No, I don't think we're in a recession. But the economy isn't that good, right? The economy isn't good to be shouting from the rooftops, you're the best economy that we've ever had. Like, again, may not be. Well, then the interesting thing comes up is the unemployment rate. Like, if you look at the unemployment rate is for people who are looking for jobs. If you have a job or you're underemployed. And so what underemployed means is basically you have a job, but you just basically can't pay the bills, right? You're not unemployed. Oh, motherfucker is starving and can't pay to get their insulin? Well, that's a win as far as Biden is concerned. So one, underemployment was actually through the roof under Biden. And then also the workforce participation rate was at the floor. So basically what the workforce participation rate is everybody who's of working age, somewhere between I think it's 18 to 65, what percentage of those people are actually in the job market? And that was down by 1 million. Right? So 1 to 2, at a certain point, between 1 to 2 million fewer Americans were even bothering to be in the trying to get a job or whatever else. And so that lowers the unemployment rate, because if you take 2 million people off the list of people that are trying to find jobs, that means the unemployment rate is going to be lower. Well, so the unemployment rate is low. At the exact same time, far fewer adults are actually working in the economy. And that's where you can start getting some really screwed up things. So the people that are working don't have enough money to pay the bills, and 1 to 2 million working age American adults have decided it's not even worth trying to find a job. Right? You hear that, you're like, that's not quite the rosy picture that the Biden administration was trying to put out there. And so this is a big thing for you to be thinking about if you're going to be a business owner, a decision maker, is when you go out in the world, you need numbers, right? These numbers are valuable from a practical sense, because sometimes you don't get the right feeling, right? Sometimes you walk out, you think things are horrible, and everybody else, everything's great, right? You're in a funk. You're in a funk. You can't see the sunshine for all the clouds or whatever, right? So one of the important things is that you can see the numbers, and that starts to make you feel more comfortable about future investments. It's like, okay, right? If the unemployment rate is actually at 4% and the workforce participation rate is high, right? If you can trust the unemployment rate, maybe I should rent a bigger facility. Right? Oh, okay. So the unemployment rate, right? Okay. So, if I rent another place, it's gonna be a 5-year contract. It's gonna be a 5-year lease. Now that I'm looking at these numbers, I feel more comfortable doing that type of thing. If you're gonna go and take another job, I like the healthcare, I like the benefits of this job. I'm not sure if I should hop over. I don't know how the economy is doing. You look at the numbers, the economy seems to be doing well. Okay, you can jump over, go to the other job, right? These numbers are incredibly valuable for people to actually be able to make decisions. The problem is, right, the politicians nowadays, they don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about your kids. They just want to pretend to be successful. I am, right? Like, one of the things that I hate nowadays is they keep talking about our presidents as the most powerful people in the world. Fuck you. Fuck you. You are a fucking puppet to the American citizens. You have 330 million hands shoved up your ass, And you should be speaking for us. You are not powerful, Mr. President. We are fucking powerful, and we delegate that power to you. But that is something our presidents have lost sight of. And whether it's Trump or Biden. So what becomes concerning here is that, with the policies that Trump has put into place, however you feel about them long term, we might be able to have an argument about where this goes long term. Where we are in 2035, I'm not feeling good about it, but I can see you making an argument. Look, it's gonna take 20 years to create new copper mines in the United States. So yes, a 50% tariff on copper is gonna suck now, but hey, Eli, by 2045, the country will be stronger. It's like, it's an argument. It's an argument. But the point is, you put 50% tariffs on copper. You put 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum. You put 35% tariffs on Canada. You put all these other tariffs. You do all this. You start ripping employees out of the American market, however you feel about illegal immigrants. And to be clear, they're illegal immigrants. But you start ripping out millions of illegal immigrants out of our economy as fast as you can. They are trying to deport 3,000 illegal immigrants literally per day. Think about this, 90,000 per month. 90,000 humans leaving the United States per month. However you feel about illegal immigrants, you gotta understand that's gonna hit the economy. That is 90,000 people that no longer need a bed to sleep in this country. That is 90,000 people that are no longer gonna buy a Coca-Cola at lunch as a pick-me-up. That's 90,000 people that aren't going to go and grab a quick breakfast at the gas station or whatever else. That's 90,000 people that are not gonna be putting roofs on houses, are going out there and picking crops, going out and doing all of this work that we've gotten used to. 90,000 per month. That has a dramatic effect on our economy. However you feel this is going to work out by 2035, in 2025 it's gonna bite. That's not anti-Trump. That's fucking reality. But anyways, in a surprising move that will surprise nobody, coming from CNBC, Trump fires Commissioner of Labor Statistics after weaker than expected jobs figures slam markets. So yes, when the weaker than expected job figures come in, I'm not sure why they're weaker than expected, but anyways, weaker than he expected. He is not rethinking his policy decisions. Congress is not grabbing back the leash of this rabid dog. No, he's firing the commissioner for the department. President Donald Trump on Friday fired the Bureau of Labor Statistics Commissioner hours after the agency reported that job growth in the U.S. had slowed to a near halt. Which should really not be a shock. Look, I've been talking about all the layoffs just in the tech world, right? As I've talked about, Intel is getting rid of 25,000 employees by the end of the year. Microsoft is getting rid of 16,000 employees by the end of the year. I've talked about all of these layoffs just in the tech world. I just talk about the tech world. I don't get in mainly to the federal layoffs. I don't get into the local layoffs because they're no longer getting grants and that kind of stuff from the federal government. I don't get into all the other layoffs. Look at what's happening in the world of tech and then extrapolate that to the rest of our economy. And is it really surprising that job growth has come to a near halt? No. What you argue will happen by next year, that's a question. Anyways, in a Truth Social post that also directed even more fire at Fed Chair Jerome Powell, Trump accused BLS Commissioner Erica McIntyre of being a political appointee who was manipulating jobs data. A quote, I was just informed that our country's jobs numbers are being produced by a Biden employee, Dr. Erica McIntyre, the Commissioner of Labor Statistics, who faked the jobs numbers before the election to try to boost Kamala Harris's chance of victory, Trump wrote. Quote, we need accurate job numbers, which is true. That's the beauty about Trump. Trump actually says true things. And then he does crazy shit. It's like, you're like, wow, this This man speaks the truth. And then I don't know what the fuck he does. He does something else. Let's see here. I have directed my team to fire this Biden political appointee immediately. She will be replaced with someone much more competent and qualified, he added. So he is going to replace her with somebody that's going to give him the numbers that he wants. Here's the problem. When you lie about statistics, at the end of the day, it's going to bite you in the ass. You can lie about the metrics. At some point, it's going to catch up with you. That is just fucking reality, right? Let's see here. A spokesperson for the Bureau told CNBC BLS can confirm the commissioner was terminated today. Deputy Commissioner William Wyatrowski will serve as acting commissioner for BLS. The stunning move came the same day that the BLS reported a gain of just 73,000 non-farm jobs in July, below market expectations. In addition, the Bureau revised 2 previous months down sharply, cutting a combined 258,000 from the prior counts, putting the 3-month growth rate at a paltry 35,000. It was the biggest 2-month downward revision since April 2020, the early days of the COVID crisis. So one of the things you have to think about with these numbers is, again, they're doing statistical plotting or whatever else, right? It's hard when you have a country of 330 million people, or 3,000 miles by 2,000 miles is a big country. Actually figuring out all the numbers in near real time is very difficult. So they try to plot things out where they think things are going, and that's why later, as they get better information, they will revise their previous estimates. And so basically, the economy they had been plotting because the economy had been doing well. The economy hadn't had all these tariffs. The economy hadn't had the crazy, dog that's currently in the presidency. And the crazy dog decides to start ripping things up. And so they have to go back. And now they're looking at the old numbers and they're having to revise based off of the information that they currently have, which, should not be a shock. Quote, important numbers like this must be fair and accurate. They can't be manipulated for political purposes, the president wrote. Which means he's going to manipulate them for political purposes. McIntyre said there were only 73,000 jobs added. A shock. It's really not, right? Doing these commentary videos, looking at the news every day. Who's it a shock to? Crappy economic policies lead to crappy outcomes. But more importantly, that a major mistake was made by them. 258,000 jobs downward in the prior 2 months. Similar things happened in the first part of the year, always to the negative. Well, yeah, because you've been kicking the crap out of the economy. Like you gotta fully realize, like what he's doing to the economy, nobody expected. Most of us didn't realize he could even do the things that he's currently doing. Prior to Friday's report, Trump repeatedly has championed the strength of the labor market. Why? After the June numbers had been released initially, the White House put out a statement calling it a June bloom. The weak jobs report Friday preceded a sharp drop in markets, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average off more than 500 points and the tech-focused NASDAQ off more than 2%. Treasury yields also slumped. Quote, I can't believe what I just saw, said Peter Malloch, President and Chief Investment Officer of Creative Planning. Trump's social media posts seemed like a parody or satire at first, Mollusk said. Quote, this is not healthy, he added. Quote, we can't have a set of numbers come out and fire somebody that served under numerous administrations in various roles because you don't like the numbers. William Beach, a 2017 Trump appointee and McIntyre's immediate predecessor at BLS, also sharply criticized her firing. Quote, the totally groundless firing of Dr. Erica, my successor as Commissioner of Labor Statistics at BLS, sets a dangerous precedent and undermines the statistical mission of the Bureau. Quote, this escalates the president's unprecedented attacks on the independence and integrity of the federal statistical system, Beach added. Quote, the president seems to blame someone for unwelcome economic news. Yes. His crappy policies are leading to crappy outcomes. And he doesn't like the fact that those numbers are being published. Ergo, he's going to do what you've got to do in this situation and fire the person that published the numbers. I do think this is going to be curious over the next 3.5 years, and it's one of the things that I am genuinely very concerned about. There are a lot of numbers that come out of questionable value, right? The gross domestic product, CPI. There's a lot of these numbers that come out, and there's always a question as to what their actual value is, how well they track the things that they're supposed to be tracking, right? So with a lot of this stuff, if Trump wanted to build, he doesn't. All Trump knows how to do is bitch, whine, blow snot bubbles, and destroy shit. Right? That's it. What are we seeing being built? We see him attacking Harvard. We see him attacking Columbia. We don't see him building vocational education. Right? I do not see a resurgence in investment into vocational high school programs in the United States. When I graduated high school in the 90s, I had friends of mine go through vocational programs. I had a buddy of mine who went through a small engine repair program. I had another buddy of mine who went through a plumbing program. And actually what I actually did entrepreneurship. That was technically a vocational program. The idea being is that in high school, you were trained with skills that could get you a middle class job, right? You could come out of high school and become a plumber's assistant or an electrician assistant or start your own business or whatever else, right? There was the college track and there was the vocational track. So many people were pumped into the college track. Now we have, poli-sci majors that are surprised that being $150,000 in debt for a poli-sci degree probably wasn't a great idea, right? And so if you want to rip $4 billion out of Harvard and put it into reinvigorating high school vocational programs, right? I don't know, is it legal? Is it constitutional? Am I going to complain that much? You know what I'm saying? Like, right? As I say, like with racism or whatever else, like, if you're going to be racist, be effective, right? If you're going to do illegal crap, be effective with it. And you'll find most people are like, fuck it, right? And the problem, though, is that that's not what we see on the Trump administration, right? Like with these numbers, right? What he's talking about with these numbers is 100% true. We really need to think about the numbers that are being tracked. We really need to think about, are we tracking the numbers fast enough? Right? We are in 2025. Why are they revising numbers going back 2 or 3 months? Right? Why is the process not much faster and not much more effective at this point in time? Right? The way that the numbers are created, the forecasts and the modeling, are those up to 2025 standards, or is this government horseshit where they're at 1995 standards, right? So if Trump came out and said, I am going to get the best business minds of this generation, the best business minds of this generation, I'm going to get best technology minds of this generation, and we are going to come into the Bureau of Labor Statistics or whatever else, we're going to come up with a Department of Government Statistics. And they are going to create a system that will allow us to create the numbers and statistics that will be most valuable both to the citizens and the government of this country. That would be great, right? That would be building something. But that's not what Trump does. That is literally not what the fuck Trump does. Trump has a fucking temper tantrum when his fucking bitch-ass policies get the outcomes that's kind of fucking obvious to anybody that's paying attention. And then when he hears the results of the outcomes of his shitty-ass policies, what does he do? He fires the person that provided those numbers. And so the real question that we're going to have to think about over the next 3.5 years is as his policies drive our country further into the ground, how many of these numbers and how many of these statistics are simply going to become worthless? How many of these institutions is he going to destroy to the point that it's no longer a question about whether their methodology is effective or how fast they should be able to come up with the numbers, but that simply the numbers that are put out are political horse crap that have nothing to do with reality. And the problem that we're going to get into is for decision makers, right? What do decision makers do when the numbers coming out of the U.S. government have not a goddamn thing to do with reality? That is going to be an interesting question. right? Because I mean, where I see it, housing prices have already started to come down. My wife and I are looking for a house somewhere else. We are moving away from Asheville. We've got a couple options. Got a couple options on the table. I will tell you those options when we figure it out. But the nice part is housing prices are coming down. Yay, right? Housing prices are coming down. You know, as I've said, you know, layoffs are going up. Layoffs seem to be pretty significant. I talk to a lot of people in the labor market, and things just are not going well. And so what happens when Trump cannot accept the reality of his decisions? We're only 6 months into this. We're only 6 months into this. Oh, I don't know. So what do you think about this? What do you think about him firing this commissioner for the Bureau of Labor Statistics? What do you think about these numbers coming out? 73,000 for this month, revising the last couple of months, basically to a very low number of growth. The number of growth now does not actually keep up with population growth. So the number of people that are actually employable is going down. What do you think about all these politicians? You know, whether it's Trump or whether it's Biden, at this point in time, they're trying to manipulate data to prove that they're successful even when they're abjectly failing. And what do you think this bodes for our country? What do you think this bodes for businesses and planning and all that kind of stuff? Again, it's a crap show. Build. What do I want us to do? Bill, hey, we have a trade deficit with China. You know what we should do? We should invest in industrializing our country again. We should invest in vocational programs. We should invest in teaching our young people to be proud of being a bricklayer. Think about this. You know, for my generation, right? We're right in the middle of all this. The whole idea of, oh, if you were a bricklayer, it means you're a fucking failure. How fucking stupid are you that you build houses? Ha! How do you think that works for society? How do you think it works for society when you literally tell your young people that building houses is for dumb people? Yeah, how many houses do you think you're going to get out of that? Maybe that's why we have $40 billion of investment going to OpenAI and not nearly enough investment going into houses. Anyways, what do you think about all this? Give us a thumbs up, give us a thumbs down. Leave an awesome comment down below. Leave a horrible comment down below. Do remember, it's a modern world of social media. All that matters is that interaction. Do remember silicondojo.com. We are doing fireside chats. Next week we are having the co-founder and CTO of a company that does integrations, basically integrating different systems together. He is going to be talking about when they try to integrate artificial intelligence into their system and how that worked out for them. So that'll be on silicondojo.com. And also we're going to have the vice president for AI models for IBM. He is going to discuss what the hell IBM is currently doing with AI, also what they're doing with models and that kind of stuff. I do actually think IBM is doing some interesting things with artificial intelligence, and nobody's actually talking about it. So we'll have him on to talk about that kind of stuff. You can go over to silicondojo.com. You can become a member of silicondojo.com, and you simply RSVP. So basically you click on, you RSVP, and it's a Zoom call, so you can ask questions, that type of thing, during the fireside chat. And that's all I've got. See y'all later.